Good afternoon. I'm Amrita from Gostudy, and today I'm in conversation with Dr. Ben and Dr. Shudipto. Good afternoon, nice to meet you. So, why don't you guys tell me a bit about yourselves and why we have met today?
Well, first of all, it's great to be here in India and thanks for the opportunity to come and speak with you. So my name is Dr. Ben Ryan. I'm the Deputy Head of School at the School of Pharmacy and Biomolecular Sciences at RCSI University of Medicine and Health Sciences. And Sudipto and I are here in India taking part in the Education in Ireland India Roadshow. So we're going across a number of different Indian cities and taking the opportunity to meet with prospective applicants to our programs.
So my name is Dr. Sudipto Das. I am also a Deputy Head of School, but for the School of Postgraduate Studies, and I am also a Program Director for a new Master's Program within the School of Pharmacy and Biomolecular Sciences. So echoing what Ben said, thank you so much for having us here. We're quite excited to have a chat with you guys in terms of our programs and about RCSI in general.
That's amazing. So, could you tell me a bit about how is it to live in Ireland?
Well, maybe I'll start. So I believe Ireland is a really wonderful place to live. We have not quite the warm weather you get here in India, but we certainly have a very clement climate. The people are a very welcoming people. We're actually quite a small country from the point of view of our population. So RCSI, University of Medicine and Health Sciences, is actually based in the capital city of Ireland, based in Dublin. So that's a small city by international standards, about 1 million people in the city. But really the city has, with those 1 million people, a wealth of opportunities, cultural activities, sporting activities. So it's really a great place to be.
Yeah, and I suppose adding to that, I have been in Ireland for almost 17 years now. I'm Indian myself by origin. It's been a fantastic place to live. It really feels home. As Ben said, people are very friendly. It's just a very warm, it's a nice place to be, particularly trying to see the different cultures that are coming in. The Indian diaspora over the last decade or so has really expanded. We have people from all different kind of sects and all different geographies coming to Ireland, which makes it a really nice, vibrant place to work. And Dublin in particularly has something for everybody, really, of different age groups or whether from different geographies. So it really is a lovely place to be.
Okay, since we are speaking of the city of Dublin, the question of women's safety comes inevitably. So how safe would you say Dublin is for the international students who are very new to the country, especially the female students?
Yeah, I think, Dublin is a very safe city to live in. It's always been very safe. We have quite a vibrant nightlife. People are always out and about in the night without, a huge concern about their own safety. So I think that really puts people at ease, that given it's an easier place to live in, we do have a good sense of safety. So I would say it's a very safe place and a safe city particularly to live in.
Just to add maybe to what Sudipto has already said, in comparison with other international cities, Dublin is incredibly safe. It's a very walkable city. It's a very vibrant, active city. The country itself, there's also, it's a very safe city for everyone, both local people and international visitors. We get a large number of, particularly in RCSI, we have a large number of international students, both male and female students, and our campus is located right in the city centre. So Dublin itself, and Ireland more broadly, is actually incredibly safe to be, whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're a worker or whether you're a student. It's welcoming and safe for all.
Okay, that's great to know. So my next question is about the Irish weather. Is it raining always? Do I have to keep an umbrella in my bag at all times?
Well, as an Irish person, I think that's a little bit unfair insofar as it certainly doesn't rain all the time. What people do say about Ireland is that you can get 4 seasons in one day. So you will see people going around with an umbrella and a pair of sunglasses, and they are often used in the same day. What we don't get is extremes of weather, and that's quite important. So it doesn't get very cold, it rarely snows, it doesn't get very hot, you're not going to get to 30 degrees very often. But Dublin, Ireland, where it's located, if you do want hotter weather, you can hop on a plane and you're there within 2 hours in a much hotter location within Europe or the European Union. Or indeed, if skiing is your thing over the winter, you can go across to France. So the weather itself, I think, is actually a bonus for Ireland. What you'll actually notice is that it actually even attracts some of the data centres to Ireland, because actually we don't have those extremes of weather. We actually have a very manageable environment that allows us to not use lots of energy either cooling buildings or heating buildings. So I would say Yes, you'll get a little bit of rain. Yes, you'll get a little bit of sunshine. But I think most people enjoy it.
Okay, what about the Irish winter? They say that it's very cold. Do I have to go layer by layer, or do I have to wear my whole wardrobe all at once?
I don't think you need to layer it that much. Of course, like any other country, another Western country, particularly given the location where we are, it can get cold, but there are certain months which are colder than the rest. So throughout the year, there'll be some months, typically sometimes March gets colder than January or February. And obviously, as the seasons are changing and as weather is changing globally, it has also impacted Ireland. But certainly, you don't really need to be layered up constantly. I mean, I certainly don't feel that. And I have to say that, when the sun does shine in Ireland, there is no better place like Ireland. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's very green, it's luscious and green, and that's thanks to the rain in a way for that. And it's just very, very, really nice weather to be in, particularly I think for Indian students who do want a bit of respite from the heat that we have over the summer. It is really blissful.
Yeah. So I suppose just to add, our houses, they're centrally heated.
Yeah.
So that means that you can keep the temperature at 20 degrees. We don't have a huge need for air conditioning, if I'm being honest. So that wouldn't be normal in Irish homes to have air conditioning. But, people go around on their daily business over winter. It's not particularly cold. You wear a jumper, you wear a coat, you wear a pair of gloves on a cold day and a hat maybe. But you're certainly not talking about extremes whereby it's minus 20. It will go to freezing overnight, maybe minus 2 degrees. But very rarely do we see much beyond that. So it's a very easy environment actually to live in.
Okay, the students would be very relieved to know about the weather and the beauty of the country that you talked about. So my next question is about the food scene. So international students, especially Indian students, they're very heavy on their food. So what is the food scene in Ireland? Is it only local cuisine, or multi-cuisine is available?
Well, as an Irish person, I think the food scene in Ireland is absolutely fantastic now. So in other words, Ireland now is a hub of I think, culinary excitement. Yes, the Irish food is still fantastic, but whether you're French, Italian, Indian, all different types of cuisines are now actually catered to. And I think importantly for students to recognise and to know about is actually that they are also there at different price points. So whether you want to go to some of the fanciest restaurants in Dublin, you can be catered to, which would match their global peers, or indeed whether you want to go to something that's accessible, reasonably priced across all the different culinary arts, cuisines. I mean, that's available for you too.
So pocket-friendly eateries are available for the students?
Absolutely. And as I said before, with the growing Indian diaspora, I have certainly seen a really good increase in Indian restaurants as well, which are very affordable. You obviously have very high quality restaurants, which is great to see, who are showcasing the best of Indian cuisine. So you do have the option of, going back, and if you're feeling a little bit homesick, want to get the little bit of ghar ka khana, if you will, you can actually get that.
Yeah. And also I think this additional food scene, the new types of restaurants, the different standards of restaurants, the great food scene that now exists, what you'll see is it's not just one particular diaspora in a particular restaurant.
Yeah.
What you'll notice is that there's lots of Irish, European, Indian, American, they're all in the same restaurants. So they all want to try different cuisines. I think people are much more open to trying different cuisines, and certainly that's my experience in Ireland. People want to try something new, and there's lots of new and exciting restaurants opening up.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. One of the most exciting parts of student life is exploring new places. So how convenient is it to travel within the city of Dublin and other parts of Ireland?
Very convenient. I mean, we have several modes of transportation. In fact, I was reading an article the other day that Dublin apparently comes in one of the most walkable cities in Europe. So it is very much walkable. And as we said, obviously the safety part is there. So it's quite safe to walk around as well. We do have a very good network of buses. We also have something called the DART, which is a local train line. Within Dublin as well, we also have a tram line, which is called the Lewis, which again connects, both the south and the north side of the city. So from a commuting perspective within Dublin itself, highly commutable. If you want to go a little bit outside Dublin, we do have trains. We have very affordable buses. If you want to go in some of the major cities like Cork, Galway, say for example, it's very much commutable.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, within Ireland, I think comparing it to India, now that I'm in India, the size, the scale is so much smaller. So in Ireland, you can go, from the top of the country to the very bottom of the country driving within 6 hours, 6 or 7 hours. You can go from Dublin to Galway, which is Dublin, the east coast to the west coast of the country, and you'll see something different, and you can be there in 3 hours by car. And of course, there are public transport options to take you there too. So really, it's a very accessible country just due to the fact, we have a good public transport system. Everyone uses the public transport system irrespective of your financial means. So it's not a segregated way of approaching travel. Everyone uses it. It's very safe, very effective and very quick. And I suppose because the country is relatively small in geographical footprint, it's very quick to get across from one side of the country to the other.
Okay, that's great. I think the international students, especially the Indian students, would like to know more about the Irish culture. We all know that the Irish culture dates back to the ancient times. So the international students, can they take part in the local cultural celebrations happening in and outside the campus?
Of course, I think Irish culture is renowned for being accessible. So obviously we have different aspects to our culture. One big aspect to our culture are Indigenous Irish sports, so Gaelic football and a sport called hurling, and camogie is the female version of that, and ladies football. So distinct to soccer, there are different rules. Obviously we have a big interest in rugby, so our national rugby team is actually, we're very proud of that team, and indeed our soccer team. And we also have traditional Irish dance, so Irish dancing, and of course river dance many years ago put that really on the global map. So Ireland really is, and also we're very famous for our literature. So we have lots of literary festivals around the country, and these are sometimes very big festivals and also sometimes quite small and intimate festivals where you can actually go and speak to people individually. And what actually is interesting to see is a good number of students or visitors to Ireland, they do like to explore our culture and immerse themselves in the culture, so learning the Irish language. While it's not obligatory, we do certainly have a good number of international visitors and students and workers and colleagues that do like to explore Irish culture more deeply.
Yeah, and one thing I suppose that I would like to add is in terms of music. Our Irish music, particularly, whether it be traditional folk music or just traditional Irish music, has a lot of similarities with Indian music. So particularly within the campus, we have a number of different societies and groups that students can join, which really integrates the Irish culture really well with the Indian ones. So I think there is that parallel. And literature, as Ben mentioned, we have a very strong connection with W.B. Yeats, which was one of Ireland's leading literary figures, and Rabindranath Tagore. So, there is those parallels. And I think when students go there and learn more about that, it really makes them feel, that there is that strong connection between India and Ireland.
Okay, thanks both of you for your amazing insights on how life in Ireland is. Now I would like to switch to the topic of education. Compared to the other countries in Europe, how developed would you say the Irish education system is?
Well, Ireland is known as the land of saints and scholars, so we always have had a huge emphasis on education, right from our primary schooling, our secondary schooling, and into tertiary education, so our university education. And I suppose that's probably one thing that does resonate with India. I know that you have the same approach, an emphasis on education and attainment. So comparatively to other European Union countries, Ireland is up there with the very best. We have a huge emphasis on not only, giving students the technical skills that they need, say, for example, in the sciences, but now particularly in our own programs, for example, we have a huge emphasis on giving students those power skills, those transversal competencies that are, in addition to the technical, going to allow them to be really successful in the workplace. So Ireland and the Irish government is really investing in third level education and education more broadly. Education is critically important to us to enable our people to succeed, the students that come to us to be educated to succeed, and our country to succeed. So I would say all the benchmarks would showcase that Ireland is a really great place to pursue your education.
What is your experience on that?
Yeah, no, I think I completely echo what Ben said. I think there has been a very significant shift in terms of education in Ireland, particularly third level education. And you can kind of see that in our curriculum as well, that the curriculum has been made very adaptable. It really caters to the needs of growing sectors, whether it be, science or non-science related sectors. So it's not been what we call as a fossilized curriculum. It really has evolved. And I think that has really given the student an edge in terms of what they're learning is very much state of the art, if not beyond. And again, going back to what Ben mentioned as well, that, our institutions do rank very highly globally as well. And that really makes a big footprint globally in terms of where the Irish education is and how we are training our scholars to go and really enhance their field of work, not just within Ireland, but, they might go back to their own country or go anywhere in the world really.
Okay, that's interesting. Can the international students easily secure internships or clinical placements in the Irish hospitals?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So, I mean, say for instance, I can give you about a fair that we often attend. It's a Graduate Ireland Fair that happens twice in the year. It happens in Dublin, and basically it's a showcase of all Irish companies, whether it be pharmaceutical sector, non-pharmaceutical sectors, who really come and try and talk to individuals or students who are completing their degree in terms of the next steps. So there is that option of talking to the employer directly. They also have nice, I suppose, really helpful career sessions as well. From an internship perspective, again, yes, it's a competitive process because you're competing obviously not just within Indian students but all the other nationalities, including Irish nationalities. But however, yes, there is an absolute good prospect in terms of securing internships in Irish hospitals.
Yeah. So for example, if a student from India was to come and do the undergraduate medical degree with us, they would be competing for those places in the exact same way as every other member of the class would be. So they would be fully entitled to complete their medical education and complete their internship. Similarly, we have an undergraduate BSc in Advanced Therapeutic Technologies. That's a new science program that's been recently launched to respond to the needs of the Irish pharma sector, which is of global importance. And again, in that program, the student undertakes an 8-month paid placement within the Irish pharma sector. When I say Irish pharma sector, being honest, it's actually the global sector, because 9 out of the 10 biggest pharma companies are actually in Ireland. We've nearly over 100 companies that are of large scale in Ireland in the pharma sector, and we've over 100 billion in exports. So for the Indian student who may be considering applying to that program and that has that 8-month internship in year 3, they too are fully able to participate by taking on that placement in the pharma industry. And placements are really having a lot more importance in third level education now. As Sudipto said, we're never interested in having a fossilized curriculum that we're not changing and adapting to the new needs of students. We recognise that students that come to us are really investing in themselves, and that investment we want to ensure is repaid to that graduate, because they're brand ambassadors for us, but more importantly, they're really making a difference in the world. So the placement is very important, because not only do you get to utilise your technical skills that you would have got on one of our programs, equally importantly, you start to make your professional connections. You start to get that ecosystem that you're working within. You start to meet people, you start to challenge yourself, become a better collaborator, a better communicator. Those are the critical skills, in addition to the technical, that all employers, whether they're based in India, European Union or America, they're all looking for those. And I think, to come back to an earlier question, and that's what Irish education is now really good at, giving you that holistic education, that journey, that deep dive to technical, but also recognising the importance of the transversal or power skills in leveraging your career.
Okay, since we started talking about technical skills and networking, how easy and convenient it is for the international students to switch from internships to permanent placements?
Yeah, I think it really depends upon the connections you make, with the companies that you're working with in internship. And I think that is really applicable no matter what company you work with. I think it's the sort of relationship that you build while you're interning. So say for instance, Ben mentioned about the BSc program that we have. That placement that you have really is your opportunity to get your foot in the door, in the sense that you've developed a good rapport. So, and if they are really impressed with you, they will keep you in mind for any position that's coming through. Similar to the BSc program, we also have a master's program in technologies and analytics in precision medicine, which is really an upcoming field, and in terms of where medicine is moving on to. As a part of that program, because that program has been developed and is delivered very closely with the biopharma and the healthcare sector in general, the students will have the opportunity to carry out a research project with an industry partner if they want to. Now, when they do that, obviously, if they're doing a 2 to 3 month research placement or a project with them, that's again relationship building. It's your chance or opportunity to showcase your talent, your skills, and more importantly, show how good you are as a communicator, as Ben mentioned, as a collaborator, and also demonstrate a potential leadership skills as well. So that gives you really the opportunity to translate that into a permanent position.
And just to move the conversation a little bit forward on, again, from what Sudipto has been able to say, it's not that we actually send students out onto their internship or their placement opportunity in the hope that they'll just be able to succeed. Deliberately in the programs, we put in distinct modules that allow the students to understand the theoretical backgrounds to, say, leadership and management, and then be in a position to apply that and those communication skills effectively in the workplace. It's all about curricula that should set you up for success. that's what's really important to us as a school and a university. We want you to succeed, and the curricula is designed deliberately to ensure that happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so we started talking about the programs, the practical and theoretical skills. So could you tell me a bit about the undergraduate programs that you have in RCSI that you're offering here?
Yeah, so our RCSI, just to give context, is actually a University of Medicine and Health Sciences. So we are a single faculty university, which I suppose sets us apart from other universities in the Irish third level sector. Everything we do, whether it's the research we do at PhD and postdoctoral level, whether it's the programs we offer at undergraduate level, such as our medical degree, next year we launch our dentistry degree, we have a pharmacy degree, a physiotherapy degree, and recently in our school we launched a science degree that we call the Advanced Therapeutic Technologies program. Everything we do is really about creating the next generation of healthcare professionals or scientists who have an interest and a passion for deploying their skill sets within the healthcare realm. So they're going to, in the science, using scientific knowledge and expertise, they're going to lead to better patient outcomes.
Yeah, and I think from the program's perspective as well, I think the one thing that our RCSI really focuses on is on excellence. So whether it be excellence in education and excellence in research. But what's really interesting for us at RCSI, being a healthcare focused institution, as Ben mentioned, is that the two don't go separately. They're not completely in sense, they're not completely independent. There is a good degree of crosstalk between research and education, and they inform each other. So a student who's carrying out an undergraduate medical degree, say for example, will have the opportunity to do research as a part of their program, whether it be through a research summer school or through specific modules that caters towards research. Similarly, as Ben mentioned, the BSc program has an opportunity for the internship, but obviously like any other BSc program in their final year, they will have an opportunity to carry out research. So really research and education are kind of interlinked, if you will, in RCSI, that drives that excellence with the ultimate aim of translating what we call from bench to bedside. So actually making a difference in the healthcare sector globally.
I think also, just to follow up on what Sujip said, talking about the interlinking, one of the exciting things about RCSI as a single faculty university is we get to co-educate different programs together, certainly at the beginning of their programs, because we all recognize now that everything in life, in work, whether that's healthcare or outside of healthcare, or in the pharma industry or outside the pharma industry, is delivered in teams. So understanding what your peers' skill set is and how they fit into this bigger jigsaw that we call work is really important. So that idea of collaboration starts very early on, and you find that the students build lifelong networks from their class, but also outside their class. So for example, medical students having friends in pharmacy and physiotherapy in our science program. And that's actually, we deliberately cultivate that by having opportunities for co-teaching, in our curricula.
Okay, Shudipta, you also mentioned the master's program in RCSI. So could you tell us a bit more about this master's program that you're offering?
Of course. So the master's program, as I mentioned, it's an MSc in Technologies and Analytics and Precision Medicine. This program is running its third year. The way this program came into being is that we essentially answered a particular call from the Irish government, which was called the Human Capital Initiative. And the idea behind this call was to try and upskill the workforce. So we obviously, because we're in the School of Pharmacy and Biomolecular Sciences, we essentially developed a grant application which is called as Enabling Future Pharma Beyond the Pill. And the idea was that we would upskill people who are going into the healthcare sector, both at an undergraduate and at a postgraduate level. So in 2020, as a response to this call on our application, we were awarded €7.8 million to essentially start both the BSc program that Ben mentioned and the master's program. So the MSc program really has been designed very, very carefully with pharmaceutical partners. So we work very closely with them to try and understand what is their need and how do they see that sector essentially evolve over the course of time, such that our curriculum is not just set, but it essentially is answering to that need particularly. So it really is a 1-year full-time master's program, involves 12 taught modules, and the kind of modules that we essentially cater to is we try and start students with the very fundamentals of biology. So the program is really a good intersection. Again, goes back to Ben's point that we really believe in intersector education, if you will, or interdisciplinary education. And what this program does is we have students coming from computer sciences background, say for example, who want to utilize their knowledge in data analytics, but particularly in the healthcare sector. Similarly, we might have somebody who's coming from biology background, but now they want to understand how data analytics, how they can learn that and how they can apply that in the healthcare sector. So you've got these two very different kind of background students coming into the program, and now they get a know-how of both the biology and the data analytics. So to support that, the program essentially, as I mentioned, has 4 core blocks. So human genetics, genomics, we teach them about concepts of precision medicine, how it is applied in the clinical setting. And our clinical partners, because RCSI is a medical institute, we essentially are able to kind of work with our clinical partners to tell the students how precision medicine is being practiced. Precision medicine, because it's coming up several times, is really kind of moving away from the one-size-fits-all approach. So quite simplistically, if you take a group of patients, say for instance, and they all have the same type of disease, the idea is that if they're all given the same kind of drug, they'll all respond similarly. But that doesn't happen. Some patients respond, some patients don't respond, some patients might even develop a side effect of the drug. And the reason why that happens is that each patient is quite different from each other, even though they have the same kind of disease. So their genetics is different, the kind of environmental factors they are exposed to is different. Their own physiology is quite different. So the point is to take these individual data sets, whether it be genetics or any of the ones I've talked about, and actually put them together, analyze that, and understand if we can actually tell, okay, this patient who's coming to the clinic will not respond to this treatment, so let's just move away from that and give them the next line of treatment. And by doing that, you're preventing or saving the patient from unnecessary treatment, and you're also saving them cost and also an impact on the healthcare system. Similarly, you could also predict diseases based on some of these data sets. So the first 3 modules focuses really on the precision medicine aspect, and then we launch into what we call as data analytics and computational biology. So as I mentioned, because we get biologists, they obviously don't know in terms of coding, so we start you with a very basic 101 level. So we teach 2 key programming languages, R and Python, and the idea is that once you've learned the basic languages or these particular platforms, you're now able to apply that to different healthcare based data, whether it be clinical trial data or data that is coming from the different healthcare sectors. The next part of the program really is very unique to us because we essentially focus on what we call as connected health. So what is happening to data that is coming from devices? Most of us wear Fitbits or smartwatches. What do you do with the data that is collected? How do you analyze the data? And how can you improve these devices based on the analysis that you've carried out? So we teach them about that. And then obviously there is a focus on machine learning and AI in healthcare, about how AI is really benefiting healthcare moving forward. But something that Ben touched upon before is really our focus on power skills as well. We don't want a student just to sit behind a computer and code. So we want them to be workplace ready. So we teach them power skills. So there are modules focused on leadership abilities, modules focused on innovation. So like how to file a patent application, how to start up a startup company, what are entrepreneurial skills. So these are your 12 taught modules. And then the student has the opportunity to carry out a 3-month research project with either an academic member of staff, a clinical faculty, or with a company partner. So the idea really behind this really, I suppose, state-of-the-art program, and a very exciting program at that, is that what we are trying to create is what we call as a biological data scientist. So a person who knows the analytics but also understands the biology. And they really are meeting the need in terms of a loss in translation that we see, that people work quite independently, in the sense that somebody's collecting samples, somebody's analyzing the data, and then they're communicating to the doctor. This person who comes from the program now has the know-how of the entire journey that will allow deliver precision medicine in the clinical setting. So people can come from any backgrounds. If people are coming from computer sciences, we start with a very basic level biology, as simple as what is a cell. So it starts with the level. So we do cater to those kind of broad kind of variety of audiences.
Ben, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, just to say from the point of view of the school, this is type of a program that came into being at the same time as our BSc ATT program, so they are aligned, although albeit different. And really what's exciting about these programs is it's the fact that we're really catering to an identified need within the Irish pharma sector. So this is about the student beginning their journey, pivoting maybe perhaps from where they've been before into a new role, and actually building a career for them in an exciting space in Irish pharma. And also it's a space which is going to make a big difference to patients. This is probably the most exciting piece of it. In the future, things are going to be much more about the individual. The idea, as Sudipto has said, about this one-size-fitting-all, whereby everyone gets the same treatment because they're diagnosed with the same condition, that's going to change. and it's going to change in such a way as that we're going to get better healthcare outcomes. And that's what everything we do at RCSI is about. It's about ensuring that we're training the next generation of healthcare leaders, be they scientists or healthcare professionals, to be able to deliver that meaningful change to patients. That's what's really exciting about the programs, I think.
Okay, Shudipto, if I'm not wrong, you said that you want to create future biological data scientists. So what qualities and qualifications a successful applicant must have?
Yeah, so as I said, we really cater to any kind of sciences. So a student might come from biological, physical or chemical sciences background. We've had students who've come from basic BSc in biochemistry or say genetics degrees. We've also had people who've come from computer sciences degrees. So the program really caters to both of them. The eligibility in general, which you'll be able to find it on the RCSI website, really is we're looking for students who have a very strong focus in terms of why they want to do this program. So we want to make sure the student is a good fit for the program and the program is a good fit for them. So for that, the eligibility requirements is really about 65% in their undergraduate degree overall. And we obviously have an English language requirement. But what we really do focus on is a process in terms of selecting the students, because it is a program that really requires a lot from the student, because it is quite an advanced level skill that we're trying to develop. So as a part of the application, we ask them 3 questions. We ask them what is their academic background, we ask them what is the motivation behind applying for this program, and how do they see this program help their career moving forward. Once they've answered this, we have essentially gone through the application, we are happy with it, we then call you for a 20-minute online interview. So essentially the interview typically happens with myself as the program director and the deputy program director, or any other academic faculty member who's involved in the program. And really it's an informal conversation. It's sometimes we feel, people put a lot of things on paper, but it mightn't translate as well as when you're talking to the person. So that gives us a little personal feel. It also gives a student an opportunity to ask us any questions, that mightn't have been clear through the application process. But again, it's an opportunity for us to understand if the student really wants to do this program and why, and how will this help. So I think what we do require the students is to have some level of focus in terms of why they have chosen this program and how do they see this help their career progress. The student might want to go back to their own company, they're coming from a company and want to pivot, as Ben mentioned, get a promotion or change the line of work. Some of these students often enough want to do a PhD. So getting a degree like this particular master's makes you highly competitive for both national and international PhD studentships. So it really opens up a lot of opportunities. So we have to obviously make sure that the student has that path set in their head in terms of how this degree will benefit them.
Okay. So Ben, as the Deputy Program Director, what qualities do you look for in a successful candidate?
Well, I think echoing exactly what Sudipto says, what we want the student to be able to showcase is not only the academic ability, because that's the primary ability we're going to look at, that they're going to be able for the complex and technical content that we're trying to deliver as part of the program, but in addition, what we're going to look for is motivation. So one of the things that you will recognize in students is academic ability sometimes isn't sufficient, and certainly isn't sufficient on its own. What you want is a student that's going to be able to be engaged in the work, that's going to have a passion for what they're doing. And yes, they will have difficult moments, and some parts of the material will be more challenging, maybe less appealing to them than others, which will maybe more towards their strengths. But we do want the student to have that motivation, the passion for the program, and also a group of students that are interested in the curriculum that they're studying is a really nice environment to co-learn in as another student on the program. So we really want a community of I won't say like-minded, because diversity is very important on our programs, but what I would say is equally motivated students, that they want to make a difference to healthcare and they want to use the program that Sudipto leads to so do. I think another thing that's very important when we talk about Ireland more broadly is, of course, the 2-year stay-back visa. And that is really important, and it applies to the program that's the master's program that Sudipto is director of, because that allows you to establish yourself in the European Union, the Irish pharma sector. It allows you to start to build out your network, because it takes time to build out your network. 2 years is a good long period of time whereby you're able to say, I'm going to work for this company, I'm going to work for that company, I'm going to be able to deploy my skills here. And in, showcasing your talent, building your skills, getting different opportunities. So you may decide, I thought I was going to like job role X, but actually now that I've been exposed to job role Y, that actually suits me a lot better. So the 2-year stay back is also a critical benefit of, I suppose, all the programs that's happening in Ireland, because it does allow someone to gain their European-based skill set their European-based network, I suppose, more importantly, and then they can pivot to wherever on the globe they want to, whether that's to come back and work in India, that's an incredibly vibrant country, or whether that's to go and look for opportunities elsewhere. Or maybe stay in Ireland indefinitely and contribute, which they would be well able to do, to our country and its growth and its success.
Okay, so Ben, you mentioned that some parts of the program can get challenging for the students. So I would like to know if there is any mental health support system for the students in case their academic workload gets heavy.
Well, first of all, I will certainly say that the academic workload across all our programs, whether they're undergraduate health science degrees in medicine, pharmacy, the ATT program, the pharmacy program, physiotherapy program, or indeed the masters in technologies and analytics and precision medicine, they're all heavy. They all require the students to work hard and work diligently. But what's very important to recognise is the university has a mentor system whereby you have an individual that's your point of contact to support you on your academic journey. Also, while that individual won't be able to support you in every aspect that's actually happening potentially in life, because what's important to recognise in all our lives, sometimes life can interrupt an unexpected event, an unexpected challenge, and certainly as a university we're very well accustomed to supporting students. And in the school, I know myself, having worked with Sedipto, the care he takes of the individual student journey, because Sedipto really wants to support students to do their best, to be successful and to become brand ambassadors for our program, but more importantly, brand ambassadors for themselves. So to answer your question in a bit more detail, so the university, first of all, is very used to working with international students. We have a huge number of international students that come and study undergraduate medicine, for example, with us. We have students that come from the United States that largely would do our graduate entry medicine program. We have students that come in from international geographies for our pharmacy program, and actually even for our new ATT undergraduate science degree program, which we've recently launched. So we have a suite of, I suppose, supports that we can provide students, whether they be psychological in nature, those supports, all confidential, whether they would be medical in nature. So we do also have access for our undergraduate students, for example, to medical support, so general practitioner supports. Obviously, we are also very conscious of the importance of balance. So there's lots of student societies, there's lots of clubs, there's something for everyone. We have a state-of-the-art gymnasium. So balance is really important, and we do talk to our students every year when we get the new cohort about the importance of, yes, you need to be diligent, manage your work time diary, your study diary effectively, which we can support you with. But also you need to have the balance of outside activities that gives you that break. So taking an example of the medical program very briefly, we do in that program, the medical school has reimagined their curriculum, and now they have a thread of resilience all the way through that program at different touch points along that 5-year student journey. So we have, I suppose, a suite of ancillary supports that students can access at different points in a needs-based way. So for some students, they don't need any additional assistance. For other students, they may have issues that arise once they've joined us, and we do need to and are able to support that student.
And I suppose just to kind of align really with that, RCSI is one of RCSI's core principles, I suppose, or something that we really value is student health and well-being. And that's something, we are aware of the fact that obviously not only is the curriculum, challenging at times, but so is your environment. So I think we are well aware of that, and to support that, as Ben mentioned, one of the parts of the support system that we do provide in RCSI is that we have a student welfare office, and we also have a team called Compass who are focused solely on career support, but also mental health support as well for the students. The other thing is, I have to say, is that the faculty, particularly in RCSI, really do have a very nice connection with the students. So as Ben mentioned, some of these students will be paired with a mentor or a tutor. Certainly in our master's program, each student has got a mentor, and the idea is that they would interact with the mentors and then obviously flag any issues that they might have, such that the mentor can then escalate or tell them what next step they should do or where to go within the institution to get particular help. My own role as a program director, I do talk to students very often. Sometimes the queries come through the schools to the class rep and it's easily answered, but sometimes the students do come to me directly and speak with me. And I think it's important to kind of have that sort of, not really build a sort of a wall between a student and faculty, but try and blur that wall, certainly in instances where the student is seeking support. So I think that's quite important, and that's something we absolutely do value and do practice in RCSI quite regularly.
That's great to know. And you just mentioned that the students come and talk to you directly, and it's important to blur the wall. So my next question is, how accessible are all the professors outside the classroom?
Very accessible, and this is something that we have heard from our students, our past students as well. They have come and particularly said, whenever we wanted help, particularly, they were always just an email away. Obviously within reason. If a student emails at a mad hour in the night, it is hard to get back to them, and vice versa as well. So I think within reason, but have to say in general, all the faculty members are very happy to help out students as and when they need. But the students also, I have to say, within RCSI, the students help each other a lot out as well. That sense of community within the students, whether it be at an undergraduate or postgraduate level, really helps them navigate through their educational journey. So it's supported by the staff, by our support systems that we have in place, like the Student Welfare Compass Office, say for example, but also the students themselves. That's what makes RCSI the way we are. We are not a huge university, but that being a smaller university, particularly compared to the other higher education institutions, gives us that edge to work with the students a lot closely.
Just to echo that again, Sudipto, the master's program that Sudipto directs this year has 25 students, so they're not big classes.
Yeah.
And certainly that lends itself to making good connections with your peer group, so with the other members of your class. And also just to think about the entry criteria for Sudipto's program, for the master's program, what you'll see is because there's elements of biology in that program and also elements of computer science or programming, the R and the Python programming, students come from a diversity of academic background. So a student that may be stronger initially, at least, say in the computational, in the programming languages, will be able to support a student that maybe is less strong but stronger themselves in the biological sciences. So there's that crosstalk between the students, one person having a particular strength in one, another person another strength in another discipline. And it's the collaboration between those two individuals or those little groups in the class that really actually, I think, really contribute to the
absolutely,
to the joy of the teaching on that program and the class itself and the community feel of it.
Yeah, and that's something we tell the students on the first day, help each other out. Some of you probably are very good experts in biology, so help out the people who are not so much, and vice versa. And they do. As they go along this kind of, the year, they really form those bonds through that interconnection, which is really nice to see as a program director, that they do make friends, and good long-lasting friends out of their educational journey.
So it's about growing together.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Ben, why don't you tell me about the campus facilities available for the students, like study spaces, common rooms, game rooms, and cafeteria?
Yes, so exactly. So first of all, let's say, to let people know maybe where we're based. We're right in the city centre of Dublin. So in a way, the city can be your campus as well. But the university has committed very significant funding over the last, I suppose, 7 years to enhancing even further the spaces available to our students. We have a really exciting new library facility that, and also shared study spaces that students can use. And I would encourage students who are considering an educational journey with us at RCSI to look at those, our website, for example, where you will actually see in greater detail than maybe I'm going to be able to describe the facilities. So we also have a number of different canteens where students can actually come together, have lunch, have coffee, chat, not only about the academics, but also, what else is happening in their lives or their clubs that they're running or involved in. We also have a state-of-the-art gymnasium that's free to our students. That's a really fabulous resource for our students. We also have basketball courts as well in our relatively new building that was launched about 5 or 6 years ago. We have a whole new building being launched next September, so September 2025. Really excited about another major development, another state-of-the-art facility. We also have access to football pitches, etc., etc. So there's lots to do, lots to see, lots of support, lots of places to study. We've got computer science labs where they undertake the R and the Python programming for the master's program. Really exciting new investments in the science laboratories that we have for our new undergraduate science program. For a student that's interested in medicine, we've Europe's most advanced clinical simulation suite. It's absolutely amazing, and our students get to experience that as well. So the university itself has committed huge amounts of resources to, I suppose, support our students across a number of different areas, both the academic, but as you've asked the question, also about the non-academic, that really are so important to enjoy your study experience.
Yeah, and I suppose just to kind of add to that, our facilities are really vibrant and they're quite nice. We've got places where students can just sit down and hang out. There are places which are quiet study rooms where they just go and just put their head down and study. Library it's one of the state-of-the-art library facilities as well that we have. Students have access to a number of different e-books as well as hard copied books as well that they want to use. For postgrads particularly, as I mentioned, there is there is that sort of the postgrad reading room as well. And our campus, being a city centre campus, also has the advantage that if you want to eat something and you don't want to have the canteen food or want to go for a change, you can just walk out. Cafes and restaurants are at your doorstep, really. So it makes it quite easy. We obviously do have on-campus canteens as well in both our buildings, and they're really nice, multi-cuisine, very healthy food as well. And in fact, one of the canteen facilities even has a foosball table. So sometimes the students, just to take a little bit of a break, they'll play foosball. There's a pool table there as well. And as Ben mentioned, our sports facilities are quite good. So we have a huge basketball court in one of the floors, in one of the underground floors of one of our main buildings, and that particular ground hosts a number of different clubs and societies. There's an archery club, say, for example. So it really has, it caters to everybody's needs, if you will.
Yeah, and I would encourage people to maybe look on Google Maps or a similar application just to see where we are. We're right in the city centre. So I'm from Dublin myself, so I'm a proud Dubliner. I think Dublin is a fantastic city, and even outside our doors, the college or the university is located really at the centre. It's a hub of activity. There's great shopping on your doorstep. There's lots of really wonderful coffee shops. There's lots of architecturally attractive buildings that you can look at. There's a park right beside us that you can go for a walk in, have a chat with your friends, bring your cup of coffee out when it's nice and sunny, which does happen in Dublin. So its location is actually exceptional. And it's a Dublin's very safe. It's a very safe part of town, but the whole town is actually very safe, and really good transport links. So for example, the buses bring students right to the university's door. We have a Lewis, which is a tram system that also brings students right to the university door. And as Sudipto, and I think I mentioned earlier, it's an incredibly walkable city. Dublin, most people walk everywhere in the city centre because it's quite compact.
Okay, so Ben and Sudipto, does RCSI have any exchange programs with other hospitals and universities?
So from another university's perspective, because we are essentially an EU country, we do have programs on Erasmus, which is the Erasmus Mundus program, which allows exchange between students in RCSI and the European countries. We also support Fulbright scholars, so this is more at a postgraduate levels. So for PhD students or postdoctoral researchers to go and work in the States, so that's a Fulbright program that we do often, support. Within our own school, before we became a school, we had a very strong tie with Japan. So we had student exchanges both from undergraduate medical students and pharmacy students who've gone to Japan, and Japanese students came to us, and we've been doing that for the last couple of years as well. In addition to that, from an exchange perspective, from an academic perspective, we have a new institution that we are starting with China as well. So there has been an exchange in terms of students from that as well. So our students do go globally quite a lot. In addition to that, because RCSI hosts students from over 92 different countries or nationalities, they all go back to their own countries, and sometimes some of them might go to the States or anywhere else to try and do a summer placement or a summer internship, if you will. So that allows them to give that international exposure. From a hospital placement perspective, we collaborate with several hospitals within Ireland. So the students, as a part of their own placements in their second, in the third and the fourth year, they do have to do placements in these different hospitals and get clinical exposure. So that gives them the opportunity to kind of develop again those relationships within these hospitals, because that might tell them which hospital they would want to kind of work or want to get an internship later on.
Ben, would you like to add anything to that?
Well, I think just the opportunity to work elsewhere, to experience a different culture, we certainly do value as a university. But what we're also very conscious of is to ensure that the student also in those other locations gets an excellent experience. So we actually have individual tasks, say for example from our Erasmus office, but actually reviewing, supporting students, identifying places that would be suitable, identifying institutions that would be a good fit for us as an institution, as a partner in this context. And just coming back to what Sudipta said earlier on, yes, we have had even last year students going to Japan, which was a really wonderful experience for students, in a country that the next stop is Canada, if you look left, to actually go all the other way around the world and experience Japan and what it has to offer, and also to conduct, research there. So it's really important. Science is all about collaboration, healthcare is all about collaboration, so we certainly want to ensure our students get exposure to appropriate opportunities.
Can the students work part-time while studying in RCSI?
Yeah, so the students do have an option of working 20 hours part-time. So there is that option there. And obviously everybody, depending upon their workload and the curriculum load, have to manage that. Certainly within the master's program, the students have the Monday and the Tuesday off. And what we try and tell them is that you can utilize the time to either digest the information that you've received in the previous week, study, or if you want to work part-time, that's what you want to do, it does give you that option as well. So absolutely part-time work is available and is permissible as per the visa as well.
So Ben, what are the rules and regulations? What are the limitations regarding these part-time work opportunities?
Well, it's 20 hours. But I suppose one thing to say from our perspective is that's actually the national government rules. So I would always encourage students to, go to the correct visa source for the information when they're coming to a country. So 20 hours is the maximum. As Sudipta says, our advice to students is always that they should focus on getting their academic work done. From the point of view of the masters, that is delivered over 3 days where they need to be on campus. So they have 2 days where they can work independently on their academic work. And in theory, yes, they could work for some of that time in paid employment up to the visa limits, the 20 hours. But also it's important for the student to recognise that the master's programme, for example, is a full-time programme. It's an investment in yourself and in your future career. But that investment only really pays off, I tell students, when you graduate. If you don't succeed in graduation, it is a cost. So we really have conversations with students when we meet students on this, say, roadshow where we're going with Enterprise Ireland across India. We have those honest and frank conversations to ensure that the student has thought about the practical elements of studying in another country, because it's all about enabling success for students irrespective of where they come from. We want the students to succeed, and part of the success is the graduation piece. So we are very honest with regards to how much time the programme will take, not only in in-person attendance, but also the amount of outside study and assignments you'll need to complete. That's not to completely say that you can't do any part-time work. Lots of students do part-time work and succeed, and they are great students. But we want students to make sure that they've thought about that in a realistic way.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you tell me a bit about the cost of studying there, like the tuition fee or the living expense, and if any other expenses are there for the students?
Yeah, so the fees obviously is dependent upon the program itself. So the medical curriculum, say for example, the fees is around between 59,500 to 60,000 per annum, and the program typically is between 5 to 6 years, depending upon the kind of schooling that you've done and the grades you've received. So the fees is kind of subjected to that. But from a master's perspective, say for example, our fees is 25,000 per annum. We do offer up to 2 scholarships essentially, and this is completely merit based. We do have a certain deadline within which the student should apply in order to be eligible for that scholarship, and again it's based on the merit and based on the performance in the interview as well. Having said that, so that's the actual fees in terms of working, and again the other programs, say for example the BSc program, would have its own separate fees as well. The cost of living really depends upon where you're living in Dublin, so that does have obviously an impact in terms of student accommodation that you're living in, but I think on an average, it would probably be safe to say between kind of around 17 to about 20,000 euro. Because, you don't just have to live in an apartment, but you also want to live as well. You should be able to go and eat if you want to kind of go and eat at a nice restaurant, or able to kind of just enjoy life as you're going along. So that cost essentially looks after those different elements of living in Dublin or Ireland in general.
Yeah, so I think, like every European city, Dublin also, accommodation can be on occasion hard to find, but students do have to do their due diligence. That's another thing we talk about students about rather. I think globally accommodation seems to be in short supply. Accommodation is available in Dublin, however you do need to put effort into finding suitable accommodation. So for us, it's all about ensuring that the student has the full picture in relation to the program, the country, accommodation, and what that cost potentially would look like. For our undergraduate programs, we offer additional supports around accommodation for international students. So Sudipta was talking about the postgraduate program. Undergraduate programs, we do have additional supports as regards availability of accommodation for students coming to study our programs. There is, of course, an additional charge beyond the academic fee, but we do support students to get accommodation in our undergraduate programs when they arrive in Dublin.
Okay, so this brings me to my next question. If an international student, after finishing any of these programs, wishes to return to their home countries, let's say India for example, how convenient would it be for that student to secure work opportunities?
I think it really is, again, dependent upon the qualification that you've obtained from Ireland. Say, for example, for medicine, I know if the student wants to come and practice medicine in India, they do have to give an additional exam to be able to practice in India. So there is that. If you are, say, coming from a program like the master's program that we discussed about, that master's program really allows you to work in any geography that you want, whether it be in India or it be anywhere internationally. So that really opens up the market for you. So I certainly would say, particularly India, as it's known for its IT and its healthcare sector, you would absolutely find a job that really fits the skill sets. And in fact, you might even be able to fill some sort of an unmet need in a company. So it makes it even more lucrative for an employer to give you gainful employment based on the skill sets that you would have got from the master's program. So I think once you get a degree from an institution like RCSI, the world really becomes your oyster, and you can seek employment opportunities anywhere you want, really.
Yeah, I think every geography will have its own particular requirements when it comes to professional degrees. So India would be no different in that, having their own particular requirements they want for, practitioners of the health professions within the India geography. What we can definitely assure potential students is that RCSI is a recognised global brand, that our graduates and alumni are found in all four corners of the globe practicing their health profession, whether that be medicine, whether that be physiotherapy, whether that be pharmacy, whether they're practicing as scientists with our PhD degrees, or indeed with our own new undergraduate degree or the MSc TAPM program, the Technologies and Analytics Precision Medicine program. So our degrees are recognised as being incredibly portable. And of course, for students that want to work within the EU, Irish degrees in relation to the health professions are automatically recognised as part of an EU directive. Also, as I said, just worth noting that many of our students do go and practice in the United States as healthcare professionals. So the degrees that we offer set them up for success in attaining the registration requirements that each of those individual geographies will have.
Okay, so this brings me to the end of our conversation, but before ending, I would like to know if you could give any advice or word of caution to the future students of RCSI. What would you say to them?
I would say, just have a focused application in terms of what you're applying for. Know why you're applying for a particular course. Understand what the course requires from you. Just do your homework properly. And then most importantly, I think, be excited about the fact that you're not only coming to Dublin, but you're coming to a world-leading healthcare institution like RCSI to come and study, where you will not only learn, but you'll also make friends for lifetime. So I think that's more than a word of caution. I think it's something that, it's an exciting opportunity for students to come to RCSI and Ireland in general.
Yeah, I would just say to students that, and maybe I'm biased because I am Irish, but Ireland is a wonderful country to come and pursue your third level education in. The people are incredibly friendly. The city is incredibly welcoming. Also what I'd say is university is not only about, the qualifications that you're going to get, what you're going to study. It's about what Sudipta has also said, it's about the friends you're going to make that will be lifelong friends. It's about the challenges that you're going to face and overcome. And in RCSI, we're very excited about the future of healthcare. We're very excited for the future of our graduates. And we're very excited to get applications from high quality students. Yeah. So, if a student is thinking of an international experience for their third level education, I would suggest that student should come and have a look at what RCSI offers. Have a look at our website, reach out to our admissions team. You will find lots of information on our university pages. You'll find lots of information about Ireland, lots of information about the clubs, the societies, the curriculum. And what I would say is do your homework. The only caution I would say is do your homework. Make sure that what you're doing is really something that you want to do, that you have a passion for. Yes, you'll have certain subjects you're going to like more. Yes, you'll have certain subjects you'll like less. Think about what you're going to become at the end of your 4 or 5 year journey with us. And that's the only caution I'd have for students. Just make sure you've done your due diligence. You really want to do the programs that we offer. They offer wonderful careers. And if you're thinking of any of those careers, I would suggest, if you're thinking internationally, think RCSI.
So that brings me to the end of our conversation. That's all that I needed to know from you guys. Thank you so much for joining me here today in conversation. And I'm very grateful for all the insights that you shared. And I'm sure that all the students watching this conversation are going to benefit a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.